And I am live for my Pacers Live post-game show. I do one after every single Pacers playoff game. And this was an awful performance by the Pacers on Thursday night. 111-94 the final. It's a game that will be remembered for many bad reasons, notably the starters producing just 37 points. On the other side, Jalen Brunson had 32 by himself. Combined with Brunson, they had 56. It will be remembered for the countless turnovers, a playoff high 19 for the Pacers. It will be remembered for how they were handled in the paint, outscored 60-34. And it'll be remembered for just an awful shooting night in general. As a team, 40%. The starters were about 30%. Halliburton finished with 8 points, 2 rebounds, 6 assists in 31 minutes. And Aaron Nesmith, who has been fantastic all postseason long, did not have it tonight. 1 for 8, 3 points, a season low, 16 minutes, not even 16 minutes. A guy that plays more than 30 minutes per game. And this group was just worn out. They were challenged, and from the very beginning, it was not good. It was a bad sign when they turned it over on their first 2 possessions of the game. On the other side, Brunson scored their first 6. In the second half, they turned it over on their opening possession. Brunson scored at the other end. I knew that it was going to take a special performance from Jalen Brunson to get this Knicks team back in the game and back in the series. I wasn't sure what Karl-Anthony Towns, though, would look like. And he was good. He was solid, had a double-double by halftime and finished with 24 points, 13 rebounds, but 4 turnovers. That's his biggest issue. He had 4 of their 15 turnovers. But after this one, it's simply it was just an unacceptable performance by the Pacers. It was to the point where Rick Carlisle had to burn a couple timeouts in the first quarter, another timeout in the second period. By 2:44 remaining in the game, he pulled the starters when they were down by, I think, 16 and left only Andrew Nembhard in there. It was a game where they went deep on their bench, playing as many as 12 until the final minutes, and then you get Johnny Furphy and a couple others in there. We saw Jarris Walker for the first time in the series in the second quarter, knock down a couple of three-pointers in this one, but Benedict Mathurin was easily the Pacers' star. And what did I tell you in my Pacers Live after last game? Mathurin was in the practice facility while I was talking to you, coming off his 20-point performance. So he was not content. He was given an opportunity, and over the last couple of games, he has made the most of it. And it was telling when Rick Carlisle, before Game 4, said, hey, look, we're going to need Mathurin. We're going to need him. And that has absolutely been the case these last 2 games. But it was just a pitiful performance by the Pacers this Thursday night in New York City. A frustrating game, one they were handled in the first, second, and third quarter, outscored. Fourth quarter was a wash, 21 points each. But at that point, Pacers is already trailed by 20-plus points, and that deficit stretched to as many as 22. Pacers threatened a little bit late. You saw with 4 minutes into that fourth quarter, they cut it down to 12, but then 3 straight scores for the Knicks. And I feel like that was the theme tonight. The Knicks came out through the proverbial first punch, kept attacking. Brunson set the tone for what this game was going to be about for the Knicks, and they never allowed for the Pacers to get comfortable, to get settled, to get into their flow offensively or defensively. You're going to see their fast break point 16, but it wasn't nearly that high. By that point, it didn't much matter. They did not get out and running like they needed to in that first half. Badly struggled, and now I wonder what these lineups look like, what the rotation will look like for both teams heading into Game 6 as the series shifts back to Indianapolis. 8 o'clock start, Gainbridge Fieldhouse on Saturday. Again, 111-94 the final. It's the lowest point total of the postseason for the Pacers. Their worst shooting night, 10 of 30 from three-point range. The only thing they really did well was get to the free throw line. Got to the foul line more than the Knicks in this one, with notably Benedict Mathurin making all 9 of his attempts. He was 26 of 27 now in the series. If you have any comments, questions, feel free to leave them in this live chat on YouTube, which I will now get to. Alex, one of the worst games I've seen on all fronts, officiating, starters. What the hell he is tied to it? Disgusting. Better win game 6. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with those accounts. It starts with Halliburton, right? What did I praise last game? The fact that Siakam and Halliburton combined to go 22 of 44, I believe it was, from the field. They took half their shots and they made half of them. The two of them combined for 60-some points. I think it was like 67, and were just outstanding. They didn't quite need that level of performance, but you need a lot more. It was just unacceptable is kind of the word I keep going back to from the Pacers starters perspective. Nobody really looked good. Even Siakam, just 15 points. Did give 6 rebounds. The fact that he had 1 fewer assists, that's it. Then Halliburton kind of shows the flow that things are going right now. And so it was just not a good performance by this Pacers team. And so now they're going to have to take care of business coming up Saturday. And I feel like tonight the pressure was absolutely on the Knicks. Now it's absolutely on the Pacers. It becomes a must-win game, remains a must-win game for the Knicks, obviously. But, man, if you're the Pacers, while you did it last season, you don't want to go back to the Garden for a Game 7. You do not want to do that at all, especially the way the Knicks are rolling here tonight. I'm wondering, can Towns make it through the series? What is Nesmith looking like in the series? Maybe he's just worn down from all the treatment and what it took to get him out on the floor. But there weren't a lot of great Pacer players to come out of tonight's performance. Only Matherin was the one that really stood out to me. The rest, blah, not enough. Not enough. When was the last time Pacers failed to score 100? Starters minus Pascal let the Pacers down. 100 was their season low in the postseason. That's what they scored in game 3 in a loss. And then I think to the Cavs, in their game 3 loss, they were held to 101, if I remember correctly. So I'd have to look the last time in the regular season they were held below 100 points, because it has not happened until now in, what would it be, 15? Previous 15 playoff games. Not good. MK, fear the Knicks may have figured it out finally and could see them steal 6 and force game 7. I think so much depends just on how the Pacers are playing. I think this was less about the Knicks tonight and more about the Pacers' performance. I really did. The Knicks didn't incredibly wow. It didn't take a 45-point performance by Towns or Brunson individually. The Pacers knocked down some shots. Instead of going 10 of 30 from 3, they're able to shoot 45% from 3. You get more than 1 of 8 from your starting wing in Aaron Nesmith, who was good for like 16 points in game 4. You clean up the turnovers, you shoot a little bit better, and you get stops defensively. The Pacers are in good shape. There's no reason, I don't believe, MK, to feel down on this team. This is one of those just putrid performances by Indiana, and now they have to respond. It's one of those where I think they're going to get to the airport there at JFK as quickly as possible, get the hell out of New York City. And for back-to-back nights, how about Pacers and Fever laying eggs? Just awful performances, unfortunately, from both teams, because both teams can do something very special this season. But we did not see that here in the last 24 hours. Again, 111-94 the final. Knicks never trailed, led by as Minty as 22 points. Just Jules, I don't think I'll be in the chat tonight, but the Pacers did know they were playing tonight, huh? They'll win game 6 on home court. Yeah, it was one of those. They looked discombobulated early on. They looked uncomfortable, a little sped up, and weren't able to get in transition, did not get stops early on in the game. You never like when Rick Carlisle has to burn a couple timeouts in the first 5 minutes. That's usually a poor indication of things to come. PJ's from Evansville. They look disinterested, like they figured they could just come home and win then. I won't say disinterested. I won't say that. I will say I think the word that I keep coming back to is just they were sped up. They didn't play their style of play, and they weren't comfortable. That's the word. They got out of what they do best, and part of that, to be fair, is a credit to the Knicks for how they guarded Halliburton. Turner didn't do much tonight at all. 2 for 3, 2 rebounds, 5 points. That's it in 24 minutes. You go to Ben Shepherd in 22 minutes off the bench, 8 points. Now, Miles did have a couple blocks. He's got a big assignment there underneath with either Mitchell Robinson or Anthony Towns, but all the starters can be and need to be much better. Disinterested or didn't care, those are words I try not to use, I will say, PJs, when it comes to evaluating games, unless you can just see guys not paying attention on the bench, not paying attention in huddles, ignoring play calls or things like that. Ken says, so are you writing off both the Pacers and Fever? Yeah, I already wrote my post-game story at the buzzer at fieldhousefiles.com. I was at Fever practice, one of just 3 people here today earlier, and posted that video on YouTube. Did not have time to write my Fever practice story, but plan to after attending shoot-around tomorrow morning at Gamebridge Fieldhouse. So, yeah, it's all Pacers, all Fever. If you can tell, the bag's under my eyes. Little exhausted right now, just the way things are going and the constant work right now. It's a good problem to have, to be clear, but we would all enjoy Saturday off. You wonder what we as writers and beat reporters root for. It's not one team or the other. It's a storyline or time off, because right now we have been going nonstop feels like all month, especially when you factor in the Fever as well as the Indianapolis 500 and everything that goes on here in Indianapolis. But yeah, tomorrow night I'll be back at the field house as the Fever hosts the Connecticut Sun. It's where the coaching staff and DeWanna Bonner were previously. Not writing the Pacers off, but they sure as heck better show up or they're in trouble. Yeah, absolutely. That's no doubt about that. Nembhard and Turner struggles are the reason why it's going to a game 6. Yeah, Nembhard's production has dropped significantly in this series. I don't know why. It's a little bit alarming. I know he takes on a big defensive assignment, and he has a couple big shots here and there, a couple mid-range jumpers, but like tonight, I guess 3 for 8, 1 assist. Honestly, that 1 assist is more glaring to me than everything else. I know other guys weren't making it, and what was it? Just 20 assists for the Pacers tonight, but it was on 30 field goals. Tyrese the other night had, 15 assists by himself? You can just see when the ball's not moving, when they're not getting the pace up, when the assists are not there, this team is a totally different group on the floor, and the production is not nearly there. It's predicated on those characteristics. So Tom Thibodeau, who's a defensive-minded coach, I don't know if he found stuff out, but they've certainly made some tweaks, certainly some lineup changes. Landry Shamet, they've been leaning into a little bit more. He'd play 4 minutes. Josh Hart, 10 rebounds off the bench, so a double-double for him with 12 and 10. I think it's going to make her fascinating game 6, and I'll be curious. We know the crowd's going to go wild. We know they will bring it at Gamebridge Fieldhouse, and here you go. This is exactly what you want, all right? A chance to go to the NBA Finals for the first time in a quarter century. You can do it on your home court. You could celebrate it on your home floor with your fans, 17-2-7-4, with some of your alums in the crowd, with a likely player to get the Larry Bird Eastern Conference Most Valuable Player Award for the conference finals, an award named after now a consultant, but also your former executive and head coach. You didn't want to have to do that, but now you lean into it, I guess is what I'm saying there. Pacers just go on their way, their shots go. If they can't find a basket, they will lose. But yeah, that's kind of every team though, right? That's why I'm more instructive with what it looks like, the flow, the tempo, how the ball is moving, more so than is it necessarily going in. Because look, even as bad as they played, they cut it to 10 there late in the third quarter, but then the Knicks responded. It was a 12-0 run and got it to 86-84 after the Pacers cut it to 10. Then they cut it to 12 4 minutes into the fourth quarter, and the Knicks went on another run. So the opportunities were there despite this bad performance that did not live up to the standard that we know this group is capable of. Mr. Compton, maybe the whole team should have been in the practice facility after last game. Yeah, it's fun to say that in jest. The reality is, look, Nesmith needs to get treatment. A lot of Tyrese probably needed treatment. A lot of them are playing high minutes, so it's important for guys to get whatever they need. And Mathurin, who was the guy I reported that was in the practice facility getting shots up on his own there, he's one of the youngest guys, just a third-year player. and had played little minutes to that point in the series. Just in game 4, got high minutes and produced, actually not high minutes. No, he had 20 points in 13 minutes. So tonight he came out and 23 points in just over 24 minutes and performed well. Also grabbed 9 rebounds and made all 9 of his free throws. So that's why it's imperative for the staff to encourage that stuff, but also at the same time, it's about these players getting whatever they feel like their body needs. Michael says Pacers had game 6 on their minds. New York was all or nothing. Yeah, I think you could say that. They didn't play with that sense of urgency that is needed in a closeout game. And it wasn't exactly surprising, right? These closeout games, we don't just talk about them being difficult to close because we need another storyline. It is. It's tough to put a team away in this situation. And so the Knicks did what they needed to do. They did it on their home court. That's the big reason why you want a home court advantage. And now the Pacers have the opportunity to do the very same thing, take care of business, get a couple days rest, because now here's the other thing. You look at it, and on Wednesday night, the Oklahoma City Thunder closed out the Minnesota Timberwolves in 5 games. They're already resting, and they're at home, which is where game 1 of the NBA Finals will start in exactly 1 week. So the longer this series goes, the even greater advantage the Thunder have. They're going to have a week off between games and see this series go at least 1, potentially 2 more games than they needed to dispose of the Timberwolves. Just not good coming off the road back home in the playoffs. Coming off the first game back. I'm not sure what you mean there. Remember the days when Bird on the sideline, 94 points would be a guaranteed win? Yeah, those games were like 94-90, weren't they? 90-80 might be a huge win. And now, look, I mean, it's a 17-point win for the Knicks, a game they were favored by, I think, 4.5 after the Pacers were favored the last couple of games. I'll be curious to see what that line, maybe someone can send it here. Be curious what the line looks like headed into game 6. I would guess it's Pacers -2.5, perhaps. Pascal is -1. The rest of the starters -20 or higher. Yeah. Again, that is a little bit informative, but also single game plus minus, very difficult, I believe, to go off of. I usually don't. Maybe for a series, certainly for the playoffs, months at a time. But tonight it also felt that, right? We could see this team was successful, or had more success rather, when Siakam was out there. That's why I didn't understand there in the middle of the fourth quarter, they took Siakam out. That's when we saw this Knicks team make their run, their final push it ultimately became. And then we saw the coaching staff pull all but Nembhard from the starting group and move on basically to game 6 with just under 3 minutes remaining. Halliburton's inconsistencies are the reasons a lot of media not giving him the superstar recognition. Totally agree. And probably same goes for his peers as well. It's not like you need that 30, 12, 15, and 4 steals, triple-double every game. It's that you go from the super highs to what he did last game to this one, where was he even out there? It felt like he did not make an impact on the game. So even throw out the numbers, he him being out there did not factor into tonight's game, right? And so I think that's the thing that stands out above the rest. So I agree with that sentiment, Mr. Compton. There absolutely is. You need to see the level of consistency. We also need to see more assertiveness. I much rather see Halliburton throw up 20 shots in the same result versus him put up just 7. Majority of those were in the second half. Majority of those were when the game was in hand. No matter where you are, I'd want to lose with my stars than not even have that opportunity. Pops, Indy Hawk, -3.5 for the Pacers going into game 6. All right. It's all the games have been about 3.5 to 7.5, I think, in this series so far. But yeah, it was a disappointing display by several players, but none more than the face of the Pacers. He got all the love after last game, and now we needed to see him respond. He didn't in game 5. Now we'll all be watching closely. How does he handle it in game 6? Certainly the Knicks changed things a little bit defensively. They upped the pressure from the very beginning. They pressured him full court with Miles Bridges, who I think has just been okay, not great in this series, not at all. Let's see. For the first time in the playoffs, Kevin says Pacers look like the more tired team. That's a problem. I don't know if it was tired. Do you think it was tired? To me, it was almost like, again, they were uncomfortable, not completely there, a little zoned out. Um, but I don't like to question whether they cared or disinterested. I'm not sure they look tired. Um, I guess a couple guys you could see it in their shot, and kind of just the frustration that built up with Nemhard, with Neesmith. Halliburton, I wanted to see some assertiveness. Uh, he was on the bench entering the fourth quarter with like 23 minutes played. He can't be tired after that. Not at all. He's a guy that can play 35, 40 minutes a game if he needed to. Kimono, no, that's Kazaro, says Matherin and Walker gaining some great experience. That's definitely a positive moving forward. Absolutely. Those are the two guys that were noteworthy. I'll throw Obi Toppin in there as well. It was just not a good showing from the Pacers starters. And I think it's as simple as that. Hitting just 37 points from the starters when, quite frankly, it could be Siakam or Halliburton giving you 37 points on their own. You need the starting group to give you something like 60 or 70 points, the bench to give you another 40. That's how this team is built. They're built around Halliburton's offense, built around his playing style, and built around having depth. And it didn't come to fruition in this one. Yeah, you should be happy with Walker. I think he played well given the circumstances. It's asking a lot of him to come into a series cold, come into a game and take a three out of the corner right away, knocked it down. Ask him to have high responsibilities in a series like this, when he hadn't played at all in the series. Jinsey says, "Hi, Scott. Absolutely, it's the hardest thing to put a team away. For sure. It's one of those, even just in a game, forget that it's the playoffs. You get up 20, you relax, you get off the pedal. That's why, if anything, the Knicks allowed the Pacers to get back into the game. I mean, how many times do we see the Pacers sometimes get up 15, 17, then they kind of coast, they relax a bit, don't apply the pressure and enjoy the pace that they usually do. What I do like is that this wasn't a 4-point loss. It wasn't just a 6-point loss. If I'm a coaching staff, I like the fact that it was a beatdown. There's not many positives to take from this one. They never outscored the Knicks in a quarter tonight, and you end up losing by 17 points because you can use that as motivation and fuel and say, hey, look, they didn't have our backs on the ropes. They kicked our ass. And so that's, yeah, thumbs up. So that's the type of thing that I would lean into if I was Rick Carlisle and staff. Absolutely. Yet at the same time, you keep it positive as well, saying, hey, look, that's fine. They got one. That's the benefit of the Pacers going up 3-1. You got 3 games to win one. Now, hopefully you don't need them all, but that's what you're awarded by taking care of 3 of the first 4 games. Years ago, I remember you mentioned someone threw a battery at your laptop. Was it at a home or away game? Holy cow, Mr. Compton. That is an incredible throwback. Also, shout out to you because you've been with me clearly from the beginning. That was back in 2012. That was back at Gamebridge, which was then Bankers Life Fieldhouse. And that was when I was sitting courtside. I used to sit at the scores table next to Michael Grady, and Mike Wells was over here next to me. And yeah, something clearly was thrown. I don't know at what level. Probably was meant for the court, but it landed like right on my J key. And right away, my screen zapped, almost like someone stole all the information away or something like that. And the whole thing was ruined. And so I had to get a new one. That was tough. What a callback there, by the way. Incredible callback, Mr. Compton. By the way, I still have that replacement laptop that I had to get. So that was back in 2012. I think I didn't get the replacement for a couple months, which was unfortunate. But so I have that laptop from 2013. I got this new boy, this MacBook Pro with the M1 chip back in during the pandemic when we all lived on our computers. A credible callback there. Hope Scott Foster is not the ref for Game 6. Thing about him, and same thing with Zach Zarba, though, is they're respected because of the calls they make. The only thing I don't like about Scott Foster sometimes, like we saw in the past, whatever game he had, I think it was last game. Yeah, it was last game, is I think they called it way too tight. There were far too many whistles, and you want that consistency. on both ends. And so that becomes the challenge. And I don't want a game where the players are shooting combined 60 plus free throws and there's 54 foul calls. I want more physicality allowed, for example. Let's see. Basil says I disagree. Let's see about what. I very much prefer Ty being a distributing type. 20 each every game is too much just for the sake of it. Yes, he can be more aggressive today, but the Pacers do not need him to. I think he should score about 20 every game. The super aggressive that I'm not insisting is the 30 points. I think those are bonus. But yeah, in my mind, as the face of the franchise, as your point guard, as the player who has the ball more than anyone, to me, you're really looking for the baseline of 20 points, 10 assists. I don't think that's asking very much for a guy that's going to play 35 minutes per game, is going to pass 80 times per game. So when I'm saying maybe you mean the 20 shots. I'm guessing you mean 20 shots there, Basil, not points. But what's the magic number? The one that's given to him by his skills trainer, I think, is 16 shots per game. So 16 to 18, I'm good with that. A game like last, when he was really shooting well, I think he got up to 22. Anything below 10 is unacceptable to me. And realistically, you want no fewer than like 12 or 13. I think 16 to 17 is what I would be shooting for. I got you, Basil. Yeah, 20 shots over 7. Yeah, I'm happily taking. You need 20 from Tyrese more than you need 7 like you had tonight. Absolutely. Appreciate clearing that up. I get behind a little bit on the comments, and then I don't necessarily know exactly what's being referred to right there. Let's see. Tyrese needs to go into the paint more to be effective. Yeah, that's part of it. But also he looks for a shot. I thought he was a little bit too passive in this case, especially when others aren't making shots. That's where I'd kind of lean into, see what he can do. Can he create with a floater? I mean, five free throws is solid, making 4 or 5. Nembhard not getting to the line, Neesmith not getting to the line. I'd like to see them each attempt a couple of them. Look, there's blame to go all around on this team, and that'll happen when you never have a lead. You trail by 20 plus points, and it's a significant playoff game. So I'm not trying to single anyone out because a lot of people deserve some blame in this one, to be clear. Quick question. Oh, WNBA question. All right. Knowing all eyes are on them, why do they schedule 2 and 3 games on League Pass at the same time? Because generally speaking, you're trying to maximize your key dates: Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and there's 13 teams, so you got to get games in, and you need to play at least 3 games or so per week. And so, yeah, there's always going to be overlap. Where you'd like it to be spaced out, and it usually is like a Saturday. You have a 1 o'clock, a 3 o'clock, and then maybe two night games. But those are your primetime days. So, of course, they're going to try to maximize it. Same is true for the NBA or anything else. Just in the NBA, you have many more teams out there. PJ, they kicked our ass. That's a good way to put it, Scott. Yeah, absolutely. The Pacers got their butt kicked. There's no doubt about that. I mean, they were never completely in it. Never had the lead. Never truly threatened. Got to within 10 in the third, within 12 in the fourth. But ultimately, it was the Knicks were the better team tonight, starting with the individual performances of their 2 stars. It was very similar to what happened in Indy in Game 4 with Halliburton and Siakam. Stars win in the postseason. And you saw that again here tonight. MK says the Pacers spoiled fans by winning the first 2 at MSG. Back to earth moment, losing 1 there. Well, the Knicks also hadn't been very good at MSG, surprisingly. They improved to 4-5 this postseason at home tonight. But yeah, I see what you're saying there. Absolutely. You can't assume anything. I think the main thing people assume, myself included, is that if it's not a Game 3, they're in a good spot. They had only lost 3 playoff games. They were Game 3 in each of the series. Well, this is the first one that was not a Game 3, and the Pacers failed to rise to the occasion. What ticked me off about this game was that they could have won on New York's court and could have watched Brunson sulk, a missed opportunity. That's just kind of mean. I think, if anything, it's great for Pacer fans that could potentially be able to celebrate on their home court. Now, in history, the Pacers generally close out series more often than not on the road. They win their ABA championships on the road. So anytime you can do something in front of your home crowd, it's outstanding. So now they can't take it for granted, though, to be clear. They can't be content or too comfortable just because they are returning home into the field house. Kevin says maybe they weren't more tired, but definitely less capable or willing of applying force, almost like they're tired of playing that style. It's their calling card and can't let up. Now, I would agree with the first one. Maybe just didn't play with that force, didn't have that disposition, again, to use one of Rick Carlisle's words that he likes. And we're just they eased up a little bit perhaps on the pedal. But I think it's also very easy to get down on yourself and your teammates when things aren't clicking. When you start the game with 2 turnovers, where in the first quarter, you go 7 of 19 from the field and turn it over 3 times. Then in the second quarter, same kind of thing. And by the time you got to the third quarter, you had as many, what was it? The first 5 minutes, I think, of the third quarter, they had 4 turnovers to just 2 made field goals. And the deficit would have been greater if not for some of those free throws, especially by Matherin. So it was just a tough shooting night, tough ball handling night. The pace wasn't there. The defense wasn't there. And that's why the Pacers are in this position headed into game 6. Thanks for joining. A couple of you jumping off, Mr. Compton. Have a good night. Yep, I'll talk to you Saturday. That will be the plan. Sounds good. Maybe take a couple more comments, questions on here. Knicks did have a really good road record. It's going to be a nail biter, Derby says. For sure. Everybody is good at this point. It's not just 4 teams. Now it's down to 3 teams. OKC's sitting pretty. And they have been dominant, by the way, on their home floor. So assuming the Pacers, but could be the Knicks, move on, they got their hands full with the Thunder, with their star power, with MVP and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, even though if I had a vote, which I used to back until 2020, it was clearly Jokic, in my opinion. Voters, maybe there was some fatigue. I didn't believe into that too much until maybe right now, because I thought he was terrific, but I thought Jokic had his best season, and he's already been a couple-time MVP. Really should have won it, 3 times in a row over Embiid. But SGA had a fantastic year, and they're just going to rest up for the next week and watch these games on TV and sit in their beds and wait for the team out of the Eastern Conference to come to them. They're in a great spot. Very nice. It was always going to be an extremely difficult task to win a 3rd game at MSG. The Knicks need to save face this evening in their building. Yeah, that's a valid point. Almost kind of similar to when you play a team for the 3rd time in a series or in a season or even a 4th time. No matter how different the teams are or how much one team controlled the first couple, it's hard to win that 3rd in a row or the 4th in a row against the same opponent. You know each other well. You know their tendencies. There's some pride that gets in the way in a good way, certainly from the Knicks standpoint here tonight. And so, yeah, to go into MSG and where it's a difficult place to play, where the crowd is fantastic, Celebrity Row was outstanding, it's incredibly difficult. So you're right, to leave out of there and potentially just go 2-1 and then take care of win 2 more at home. That's all you need. You just need 4. It doesn't matter where they come. Heading off, Just Jules said, going to watch your report from Shoot Around with the Fever. Have a great night. Appreciate it. Good deal. Ken, what do you think? More Fever stuff. What do you think Caitlin Clark comes back this season? I think the Beast Unleashed will be like we've never seen before. Norma, shout out. You're absolutely welcome. Thanks for joining. I think it'll probably be between 3 and 4 weeks would be my estimate, but that is not reporting. None of that. I just know they set the baseline at 2 weeks, which means you do more testing, you're reevaluated, but it does not mean you're back in exactly 2 weeks. It's just you're out 2 weeks for sure. So generally, in my experience, that usually means you're probably out 1 more week. So that's kind of what I'm anticipating here, mid-June likely. And yeah, I expect her to be ready to go. It was a challenging training camp for her. It was a challenging first couple of games, both from a physicality standpoint and such. And so outside of that quad strain, she'll be in good shape. She's still shooting. I posted that video from the next day at practice. She's still getting shots up to stay fresh. And then if I'm her, I'm doing whatever it takes. You're getting stem work. You're sleeping in a hyperbaric chamber. You're getting massages and work and all those little things. I don't know if red light therapy helps in this aspect, but if it does, I'm absolutely doing it. 3 weeks only cost 1 game based on the schedule. Not sure what you're referencing again there, Basil. Oh, Caitlin. Gotcha. Yeah, you should be able to handle your business with this current schedule. You really should. The Washington, a young team, didn't play well there. Connecticut, terribly put together, new team. Had a lot of players not wanting to come to Connecticut. You got a new coach, a new everything there. You got Chicago, who is not great, although they won tonight. You're right. You should be set up tonight to keep your head above water and pick up where everything left off. And while you don't want to get to this spot, I agree with Stephanie White. It is a learning and instructive moment for what if she misses one game in the playoffs or whatever. This can help bring everyone together when they're having this discomfort, when they're having this burst of adversity right now. But it'll all she'll be back before we know it. And but first it'll be Fever Sun coming up Friday night at Gamebridge Fieldhouse. I'll have full coverage at fieldhousefiles.com as well as on my YouTube page. We're going to wrap up this live chat. Thanks to everyone for joining me here. PJs, you're welcome. I'm glad I can help ease the frustration, as you said. 111.94. The Knicks tape game 5. It's now 3-2 Pacers in this best of 7 series with OKC waiting in the wings. That wraps up tonight's live episode. Appreciate everyone joining me. If you missed part of it, you can watch it back. Again, as always, I encourage a 2x speed like I enjoy it, or listen to it back on the Fieldhouse Files podcast. By the way, my last podcast, I was joined by Fred Katz of The Athletic. We went more than an hour on the series, on what worked, on what didn't for both teams. Went heavy, obviously, on Halliburton, heavy on Brunson and Towns, and them trying to make that work. So I encourage you to check that one out. And I will talk to you all again very soon, Saturday night after Game 6. Have a great night.